The committee of the whole will please come back to order. What? We're gonna do trade. Okay, at this point, Tracy Mason particularly requested a scheduling adjustment, and we want to accommodate that. So we're gonna hear from Tracy Mason on senior and adult services, and then we'll return to the regular schedule. Please proceed.
Sorry, can you hear me now? Yeah, I can hear myself. I just want to start over and say thank you for your flexibility and allow me to present today. I have an amazing vacation next week in Puerto Rico, so thank you. I do want to start off by saying that the purpose of the Division of Senior and Adult Services is to empower seniors and adults with disabilities to age successfully by providing resources and supports that preserve their independence. The need for DSAS services are expected to increase. Based on the population trends in Cuyahoga County, older adults over age 60 nearly represents 24% of the population and is projected to increase to 31% by 2030. To address this anticipated growth of older adults and adults with disabilities, we are continuing to build on our core programs, community partnerships, and our strategic plan priorities continue to focus on aspects of social determinants of health, including food security, housing, transportation, behavioral health, and social connection. To advance our mission and goals, DSA's recommended budget stands at $24 million. DSAS experienced a 10% budget increase in the last two budget cycles, totaling more than $44 million. Today, our proposed budget for 2022-2023 includes that we will maintain our staffing level of roughly 185 positions, including a 2% cost of living. Today, we have roughly about 30 vacancies and in the process of filling those positions. We are also proposing to maintain our contract of $605,000 to provide guardianship services for individuals with cognitive and diminished capacity. We are also proposing to maintain our options for independent living program contracts at $4.8 million, allowing DSAS to serve more residents needing personal care, homemaking, home-delivered meals, and other critical services to support their independence. Over the past 2 years, this increase has allowed us to enroll more residents into the program without a waiting list. We are also proposing to maintain our bed bug program, emergency assistance fund to support older adults in crisis at $350,000. I am really pleased to share with you that we've expanded our community social service program, which provides funding to nonprofit organizations, municipalities to reduce social isolation among older adults and adults with disabilities. We incorporated community outreach services, connecting residents to important services, senior innovation to address digital literacy, expanding food security efforts to provide more home-delivered meals, and also transportation services. The $3.2 million appropriation and some ARPA funds will allow DSAS to expand our community partnerships from 26 to 32, and also averaging more than 10,000 seniors of service each month. As you all know, many of our senior centers had to pivot from on-site programming, which many of them have resumed to, and also they have a hybrid model in place, which we never thought we would see happen, where there is virtual programming taking place as well as on-site programming. We also have centers that are now providing home-delivered meals and congregate meals. We have not provided home-delivered meal service for senior centers in decades. Moving forward, we are not proposing any budget reductions or elimination of existing programs and services. Our new initiatives consist of the partnerships that we have with our senior centers. We are exploring ARPA dollars and funding across the HHS to be able to provide gap funding for senior meals, as well as gap funding for digital literacy. We do not have any issues or major concerns regarding our 2022 budget or 2023. What I do want to share with you, though, that we have continued to make significant progress addressing social determinants of health, and we are well positioned to continue this work in 2022, 2023. In 2021, we've expanded our behavioral health initiative by adding a geriatric nurse. We have provided services to 2,100 clients in our options for independent program, which is the highest that we have been able to provide services for in the last 5 years. We are also projecting to provide 150,000 one-way rides, and we are on pace to provide 500,000 meals, which is 3 times more meals provided in 2019. Adult Protective Services have remained diligent throughout the pandemic. We have continued to provide face-to-face visits, and we are on pace to serve 2,600 clients with the average caseload about 30 to 35 cases for each social worker. The average caseload prior to the pandemic was roughly about 25. Overall, in 2021, we expect to serve about 30,000 residents of Cuyahoga County. Let me close by providing you a couple comments that we received from clients. During the pandemic, one client said, "The Fatima Senior Center is great about keeping in touch. Each day I receive a call from the staff. To me, they are family. They are very caring, and I can't wait to return to the center. My nurse, my aide, and social worker are angels to me. Without them, I would not be able to stay in my home. I was shocked how much they did to help me. Now, any questions I have, I will call DSAS first. DSAS provide great services. Otherwise, I would be in a nursing home." That concludes my presentation, and ready to take any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you very much. And would you send us copies of your testimony?
Absolutely.
And to all of the directors that are to be coming down the line, I would ask everybody if they could send us copies of their testimony by email a day or two in advance of their testimony so the council members can review them, and also to bring printed copies with them on the day of their testimony so that the council members can have them to follow along and don't have to be scribbling notes at a rapid rate while the testimony is proceeding. So first is Ms. Conwell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through the chair to Director Mason, your current budget is adequate?
Yes.
Okay, and so you stated that you are, if it's adequate and it's gonna, it's covering all the needs, you said that you were looking into exploring ARPA funds for the home delivered meals. So if the budget's adequate, explain that to me, why you're exploring some additional funding for the home delivered meals.
We saw that as an opportunity to seek funding. We know that American Rescue Dollars is also supporting digital literacy through broadband as well as food security. So we saw that as an opportunity to support the gap in funding through our community social service program.
And what's the gap in funding? Is there a dollar figure?
Yes, for senior meals, it's about $300,000. For digital literacy, it's $250,000.
Speak faster than I can write.
I'm sorry.
In terms of, you mentioned the bed bug program, $350,000. Is that actually less than what we initially, or more than we initially put toward that program?
The funding for the bed bug program specifically is about $150,000 of the 350. The remaining $200,000 is for emergency assistance funding that we provide to residents who are in crisis.
Okay, with the bed bugs. All right. And in terms of the, I don't think and apologize, I was a little late to your testimony, but I don't think I heard anything about the smoke detectors for the hearing and the sight impaired. Where are we at with that?
I believe all of our smoke detectors have been disseminated into the community.
Okay. So there's no request for any more?
There has not been, but I will certainly follow up.
Okay. And so you have a connection, to my understanding, with the fire departments, right?
Yes.
Okay, that was a good program. I want to make sure everybody that's eligible, that we have that funded properly. And in the past, you have expressed that hoarding program was a needed service for our seniors. For a lot of people, but mainly our seniors. We all know they like to hoard. So where are you at with that?
So through our options program, we provide, it's called chore services. So we've been able to increase our funding allocation for chore services. So we've been able to meet the need.
Okay, so in terms of the mental portion that comes with hoarding, who's addressing that?
So through our new behavioral health initiative, we are working with frontline services as well as Benjamin Rolls, not just for options, but any of our clients who show any type of mental health or substance abuse kind of challenges or issues.
Okay, so what was that budgeted at? What, for the chore services? What is the dollar amount for that?
Councilwoman, I would need to get that number for you.
It might be in our book, but yeah. I think that's my questions at this time.
Council President Jones.
Thank you, Director Mason. You heard in our, before our recess, that the administration has cut the budget, FTE budgets across the board. Tell us how many FTEs were cut from your budget?
So we currently have about 155-ish employees on staff at this moment. We have about 30 vacancies that we are actually in a process of filling. So we have not lost any positions that's been allocated to the work that we need to do.
Right now you have how many?
About 155 on staff, on payroll.
And are you seeking to increase that number? Do you?
Well, actually, we've been fortunate through this budget process in the last 10 years. We've added about 10 to 12 new positions, which has been the first for us for many years. We added about 6 new positions to Adult Protective Services, as well as 3 new positions for our options program, as well as information services. Where we are connecting residents to services. So we've been fortunate to be able to increase our FTE count for the last couple of years.
Steadily increasing every 2 years.
Yes.
Thank you.
So, Councilman Sweeney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Mason, first, thank you for taking care of that constituent concern I had when you took the cold call from me, and you were very pleasant, and it was resolved very quickly. So thank you for doing that. It made me look good. I feel your heartfelt presence when you're talking about the senior population, because they're most vulnerable. I'd throw them in that category because they don't know how to ask for stuff. So my question through the chair is, what outreach do we have? I know we have some centers. We have the senior centers in the city of Cleveland. Do we have a budget for, this is what's here, and this is what's available, and how far you push it out, it's just going to have more need to increase your budget for that kind of services. Can you talk to that conceptually with that, with me and us?
Absolutely. We work closely. We create a network called Cuyahoga County Senior Services Network. And so these are partners throughout Cuyahoga County, from far east in Solon to far west to Rocky River, and all of the senior centers in the city of Cleveland as well. So we work with our partners on a regular basis. In fact, we have actual formal meetings on a actually monthly basis at this point, where we're talking about issues and challenges impacting older adults. So our reach is very broad, and we do lean on our partners to help us get the word out about services in their immediate neighborhood and where we can provide supplemental support as well. We have engaged in marketing campaigns, efforts to make sure residents are familiar and aware with the programs and services that we offer. In fact, we are doing a postcard campaign to make sure seniors receive that literature directly, in addition to our partnerships with senior services providers.
Thank you, and Mr. Chairman, just if you have a standard or a canned 250-word or 150-word message that I can include in messages that I put out, I'd love to be able to have that included in any communications I have with that population.
Certainly.
Thank you, Madam Director, and thank you, Chairman.
Councilman Gallagher is next, followed by Baker.
Good afternoon, Ms. Mason. You said in 30, the senior population would be 31% in Cuyahoga County?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm looking, numbers are always going up. And what are the underserved seniors out there? Do you have any idea? Is that possible to even get that? Or not served? Forget the underserved. Who's not served that need to be served?
Well, we know they're out there, and I think we got to do a better job of making sure they know of the services that are available. And that is part of our communications plan, and making sure that Ms. Jones, who live up the road, clearly know who we are and what we do and what services we can connect them to.
Well, and there seems to be another, I do the buyout as a passion. I'm kind of backing off of that, but I'm not going to back off the seniors, because I point out again, Franklin County spends close to $70 million a year. Granted, it's mostly levy pushed. We need a senior levy here, with 31% of the seniors going to be in 2030. That equates to probably close to 60% of the voters in Cuyahoga County are going to be seniors in need of those services. Why we're waiting, I'll not know. And if you don't push it, which it doesn't seem you're going to push it, I need somebody to push it. And I would beg my colleagues to take note of those numbers here in Cuyahoga County, which number over 100,000 more seniors than Franklin County. So it gets worse. The more numbers you throw at it, it gets worse as far as what we do to our seniors. And our seniors are the reason that we're here. And we're forgetting them. We're leaving them behind. And again, I need you to be a little bit more aggressive. I understand your delicate position where you're at between the rock and the hard space, but if you're not going to ask for extra money, maybe I can find some to throw it out there to get hold of these seniors that are in desperate need. I deal with it. I'm in a lucky area. We're not all that bad off. But believe it or not, we are bad off, because there are seniors that are so delicate that they don't want to make that initial phone call, or they don't want to answer a response in the mail. They need a personal touch. And I know that equates to dollars doing it. So maybe I would suggest we look to Franklin County to see what they're doing correctly, as opposed to what we're doing here. I'm not going to even say incorrectly. We're doing what we can do with what we have. So I would ask you to be more vocal and more aggressive in pushing it, if anything, for a senior levy. I can't see it failing. And I know these are very, very, very tough times, and I'm not into levies, but for this one, I think the seniors would vote for it. I think their children would vote for it, and I'm pretty sure their grandchildren would vote for it. And I think that equals up to over 70% of people in Cuyahoga County, which is the number that they get for the senior levy in Franklin County. So please, keep that in mind. Thank you.
Councilwoman Baker.
Thank you. The vacancies that you have now that you want to fill, the 30, were there other vacancies that were eliminated that don't impact your, or was your department completely left alone as far as vacancies go?
Yeah, we have our positions, and no position have been eliminated from our budget. We are in the process of filling those positions.
Okay. If I may ask our finance director just a quick question, and it's more hypothetical because it doesn't sound like it's impacting this department. But if a department had, say, 30 vacancies, and you decided to eliminate 15 of those because they haven't been filled in a while, but they're council approved, and that director came to whoever it is in the rank and file of who to ask, and at that time, perhaps they were said, well, right now, we just don't want to see that vacancy filled. And it doesn't even come to us. We never really know if that director has asked for that vacancy to be filled that was eliminated from what we thought would have been filled if that vacancy still appeared in the budget. Is there any risk of us sometimes never really knowing what the director may want? Say this director was 10 were 25 were there and 5 were eliminated, and she came to you and said, I really need to have those 5. And maybe you might make the judgment call, or someone would make the judgment call and say, no, I really don't want to see those 5 hired right now. It's just not something we want to do. And we never really know here on council that that director made that request. What's the safeguard for us?
Through the chair to Councilman. The safeguard is the fact that in this example, Tracy Mason would make the request and it would be submitted to Bill Mason, who would approve it. I mean,
How would we know, though, that he would approve? Not these 25, these 30, but maybe the 10, which, like I said, it's hypothetical, but maybe the 10 that were eliminated that we don't know about that she'd like to also hire beyond the 30. How would we know that request was made?
but the positions have never been eliminated. The position's not eliminated, the funding just isn't there at 100% for all the positions.
So there would not be a time that you would say, the budget is as it is. You come to us and ask if you want to expand that budget, and we just don't right now think that you should. You won't make that call.
No. I won't
That-
make the call, and if the need arises at the end of the year, say third or fourth quarter, and their budget is short, that is when we would come forward with a request.
And that isn't a judgment call at all. They would absolutely
No.
be able to fill that position even though the money's not there.
The position is simply approved by Tracy and then submitted to Bill for approval,
Just like that.
just like that.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Welcome.
So, Director, kind of on that point, you were talking about that you see your budget allocation as being adequate, and am I correct that that means that the personnel number that's in the budget is sufficient to fund all the staff that you've currently got, plus as many of the vacancies as you're likely to fill for as long as you're likely to fill them? Would that be a correct assumption?
Yes, yes.
Anything else for Ms. Mason? Thank you very much, Director.
Again, thank you all for your
We
flexibility.
appreciate the important work that you do and everything that you've accomplished. Thank you.
Enjoy your vacation.
I'd like to call Director Parfiowitz back. And next on our schedule is the capital improvements. We're going to go through the capital improvements plan overview and the capital plan and debt schedule overview, and then we'll see if there's questions.
Okay, at this time, I'm going to go ahead with the capital improvements plan. So I put a slide up that summarizes the capital improvements plans for 2022 and 2023. For 2022, we have approximately 60 million in estimated capital improvement projects. And in 2023, we have approximately 117 million in estimated capital improvement projects. The projects include the facilities, the road and bridge, sanitary sewer, and the juvenile court project is for the capital portion of their new security system. Facility projects are funded by the general fund primarily. Road and bridge projects are funded with federal, state, local license fee dollars, basically, and sanitary sewer projects are funded by participating municipalities. There is a section in the budget book for the capital projects as well. A lot of detail there. He flips over, I'll reference the appendix. Capital improvement plan is in Appendix F.
Please continue.
Okay. The next slide, I'm going to go to the county debt. So as of January 1st, 2022, the county will have about 1.2 billion in outstanding debt. It includes 23 outstanding debt issues. 2022's budget includes $97 million for debt service. 2023 includes $84 million for debt service. And I think I referenced earlier, I'll just reiterate it again, that in 2023, one series of the Gateway bonds mature and it reduces our overall debt service. This is a standard chart that we issue in all of our quarterly reports.
And does the next slide go on to policy initiatives?
No, the next slide is where I begin the departments.
Oh, okay. So then we're gonna break, and the first question I have is, now you presented the capital improvements plan for 2022 and 2023, but am I correct that the plan that's in the appendix goes out for 5 years?
It does.
Yeah. And Director, why is there not a schedule of improvements for IT? I think we've had that in the past from time to time, but we don't have that here. And right now, there's a lot of questions over what the IT game plan is going to be going forward.
Councilman Miller, I was, reviewing the budget, the executive recommended budget for the last 2-year period, and I did not find an IT plan in there as well. I've asked the new director of IT for a capital plan. He's currently working on it. But at this point, I don't have anything. The only thing that's really referenced in this budget is a $750,000 reserve in both 2022 and 2023 for the computer refresh for county employees.
So I would like to request that you work with the director and have it at least a preliminary 5-year IT capital plan in time to be included as an amendment later in this process.
Councilman Miller, I have a meeting with Andy Johnson tomorrow at 2 o'clock for just that reason.
And I would just remind everybody that we passed legislation that updating the capital improvements plan is a continuous process, not one that's just done at the budget cycle, and we've made a use of that provision. We've updated it from time to time, and so if the IT capital plan is not a final document but is preliminary, well, we can update it as necessary. But I think that we do need to have an IT capital plan in the budget resolution.
Understood.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments by my colleagues? We have Council Mintuma, followed by Baker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the director, are there, what's the status of any of the federal dollars from either the COVID-related acts? Is any of that part of this, or is that separate?
None of those dollars are part of this.
Okay, so none of these projects would fall under the purview of those acts?
No,
Okay.
my understanding is there's no ARPA in here and there's no CARES Act funds in here.
Okay, all right, I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Baker.
Just quickly, what is our debt service after the Gateway development drops off, I believe you said in 2023?
The debt service for the Gateway is roughly $7 million a year. In 2023, we make our last payment, it's about $1 million. So we will save roughly $7 million a year when that Gateway debt service falls off.
And what will our total debt service be at that time?
It's still, roughly, the debt service falls off in next year. Our number will drop significantly, I believe. I have to go through the individual schedules to calculate that. I do have a debt schedule that I can send you.
I thought I read perhaps prior 500 drops.
No,
from,
I think our next pivotal point where we start to drop in debt service is in 2027.
27, okay. And that drops then down to about 500, is that?
My understanding is dropped significantly. I'm not sure it's quite 500, but it should be somewhere around there. I believe it's cut in half.
Oh, cut in half,
Yeah,
right.
so maybe 600.
Okay. And if I may, the bonds that we are talking about taking for the guardians, that impacts this also, am I right?
Oh, it will, absolutely.
Yeah, so what we're dropping off in 2027, we'll see it.
We'll be picking back up.
And you will show that schedule?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, that's been decided. Thank you.
Yeah, it's just not, that hasn't been done yet, so it's not part of any of this.
Anything else? So, Director, am I correct that items number 5 and 6 in the schedule on the policy initiatives and the reductions and additions, that was previously presented as part of the summary, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so we can go on to the departmental budgets, starting with the Board of Developmental Disabilities.
Okay, what I've put together is a slide for each of these departments. So I will start with Board of Developmental Disabilities. Board of Developmental Disabilities provides support services people with developmental disabilities of all ages. The recommended budget for 2022 and 2023 is basically flat from previous years. We will receive a board-approved budget in October, which will most likely amend these numbers. Their primary revenue source is the 3.9 mils continuous levy, and the board has phased out its service delivery in its 8 adult activity centers. 2022 budget is currently at $132,913,591, and it's also the same number for 23. We left it flat because we're anticipating the board-approved budget in October, the end of the month.
So, October of, we're in October,
yeah.
so you're expecting it shortly.
Yes, towards the end of the month.
So, when we receive it, are we going to update this?
Yes.
So, so this here is basically a placeholder, and primarily they're a separate agency, and we don't do their budget. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. Any questions on developmental disabilities? Okay, please proceed.
The next will be fiscal office. It's a division of consumer affairs. The consumer affairs division of fiscal, their mission is to make sure people who live or shop in Cuyahoga County get what they're paying for. It's funded primarily with general fund. What's being reported is that the consumer protection scam reports are on the rise. They're up 10% from 2020. The budget for 2022 set at $813,974, And then again in 2023, $837,807.
Questions on consumer affairs? Yes, Ms. Conwell.
Through the chair to director, and I don't know if the director of the department would need to answer. I just wanted to know where the staffing levels are. I've had previous conversations with her in the past, probably pre-pandemic, but knowing that department is small, I think the majority of the staff was in the investigative unit, but in terms of the other, the weights and measures, wanted to know what was still needed for that.
Just a second.
She's here.
Come on, Cheryl.
Fully staffed at this moment.
So
I'm sorry.
please introduce yourself for the just for the
Sorry.
record.
I wasn't expecting to get on prime time. My name is Cheryl Harris. I'm the Director of Consumer Affairs. And we are fully staffed at this point. We have 10 people. That includes me. We have the Division of Weights and Measures and the Division of Consumer Protection. And we have all of those positions filled and aren't anticipating any openings.
Okay. So when I spoke to you, I think it was probably pre-pandemic. You were training someone for when you go out and do the annual inspections and all that for the gas station pumps and all that. So what you're saying now is you're fully adequately.
Yeah, it's almost a 1-year training process for people to be certified to do that weights and measures work. But everybody's certified, and we have above state hours. We are good.
All right. I wanted to follow up. Thank you.
Okay, continue.
The next department is Veteran Services Commission. Veteran Services Commission offers a holistic approach to helping veterans and their families fight against unexpected hardships. VSC is supported solely by general fund. ORC entitles the Veteran Services Commission to its annual budgets not to exceed 0.25 mils. Chapter 711 of the County Code requires year-end surpluses in this budget to be appropriated following year in the Veteran Services Fund, which is managed by County Council. The 2020 year-end surplus was $1.7 million. The VSC just submitted their board-approved budget, so this budget will require an amendment as well. I believe what they approved was $250,000 higher than what's listed here.
And Director, do we have a preliminary estimate as to whether they'll have money left over from 2021, and if so, how much?
I do not have the estimate, but I can provide it.
Okay, thank you. Questions? Okay, so this is going to have to be amended to add
Absolutely.
approximately $250,000 per year and get it in line with the 0.25 mil allocation.
Yeah, I have a note to take care of that, Councilman
Okay,
Miller.
fine, thank you. Yes.
John Rice, Director of Veteran Service Commission. So for 2021, the projected surplus is going to be roughly $2.3 million at this time. So COVID, with the additional federal dollars in the county, coupled with other federal protection stimulus dollars, unemployment, pandemic unemployment has seen less veterans requesting emergency financial assistance. And we certainly didn't want to be part of creating programs that didn't have need in the community. So we've been doing our best to ensure that we're servicing the veterans that are coming in and asking for the help. But we did not rush to create programming that wouldn't survive in a post-pandemic world. So that surplus will be coming back this year, but we expect at some point when protections fall off, and we're starting to see some of it trickling in now with people who owe multiple thousands of dollars worth of utility bills and mortgage payments and rents starting to trickle in. So 2022 will be an experience for us all, but for 2021, the surplus is quite significant.
Okay, that's very good to know. We can
As long as we have them
start
up there, Mr.
planning for the allocation on
As long as
that.
we have them up there, just question. In regards to Fisher House, we've funded in the past for the construction piece. Now they need the monies for operational support and things of that nature for local support. Is that, do you know where that would be in the request side?
So from
Of the surplus?
From the Veteran Service Fund, is that what you're talking about? So ultimately, the Veteran Service Fund is at your purview for funding. I am actually on the board of the Greater
Right.
Cleveland Fisher House as well, so I can say that they continue to request funding for the ongoing operations as they continue to expand their capacity and their censuses of the number of people there. Those programs go to ensuring that there's, food and ability to provide transportation services, and we don't just bring families from around the community or around the country into Cleveland VA to have surgeries and then just hope they stay at a house. So if there's something to do to stay entertained in the area, there's some funding for that as well. So that's the type of funding they're typically looking for. Sometimes just upkeep of the house because we just redid flooring it was $100K to redo the flooring because it needed resealed. And now the parking lot probably needs resealed already. So those are some of the funding they're probably asking you for the.
Well, we haven't asked for it. I just want to make sure that it gets the attention from our council side because I wanted to hear it from you that you said the programs had dropped off and some of the veteran support programs, that program has not dropped off.
That has not. The programming that has dropped off that I'm specific about is the programming at the county veteran service level, which is the request for emergency financial assistance. The number of veterans that are reaching out themselves and saying, we need help with our rent, mortgage, utilities, food, clothing, hygiene, car repairs, home repairs, that type of assistance.
But if we're going to have $2 million coming back to the county council for programs that we do support of this nature, I just want to make sure that I can see our guys in the back, and I want to make sure that they get my attention in that respect. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Okay,
The next area is the Law Library Resource Board. Law Library solely supported by the general fund. Solely supported by fines and fees, and there is no general fund support here. We're just providing space at no cost. The other item that I did find is that county agencies are required by Ohio Revised Code to seek approval from the Law Library Resource Board to purchase, lease, rent, or operate, or contract the use of any legal research or reference materials. They've got basically a $2 million budget. It's fairly flat, $1,939,003 in 2022 and $1,998,498 in 2023.
questions on the law library? Okay.
Solid Waste Management District. Cuyahoga County Solid Waste Management
Could you-
District.
Back up one on the slides.
Oh, did I go to, is it regional?
There you go. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. So I was speaking properly, but the wrong
Yes, you
slide
were.
was displayed. I'm sorry. The Cuyahoga County Solid Waste District is the leading resource in Cuyahoga County for information, expertise, and programs that support sustainable materials management and reduce the environment impact of waste. The district is governed by a board of directors and is advised by the Solid Waste Policy Committee, which oversees the development and implementation of the Cuyahoga County Solid Waste Management Plan. The district is supported by fines and fees with no general fund support. 2022 recommended budget is $2,175,226. 2023, $2,195,060.
Continue.
Regional collaboration serves as the liaison between the Office of the County Executive and public sectors, private sector, and nonprofit partners. The focus is on fostering improved efficiency and collaboration through economic development, shared services, and other modes. It's funded solely with general fund dollars, $269,027 recommended for 2022, and $276,176 for 2023.
How many staff? It's just a couple, I know.
Yeah, I think it's just Mike and an assistant. Mike Foley, I'm sorry.
Yes. Ms. Pomerantz?
Sorry, Walter, this one is me and Janae.
I'm sorry.
That's okay, two people.
This is Michelle and her deputy director.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yes, you had.
I'm sorry, I apologize for that.
You had me doing the same.
I thought we
Okay.
were talking about sustainability, I'm sorry.
Thank you,
I owe her
Councilwoman.
much more than just lunch, though.
2 people in the Regional Collaboration Department. Any other questions on regional collaboration? Okay. Regional collaboration got off easy. I remember other years where it was widely different.
Yeah.
Please proceed.
But we can torture them if we have to. You want off easy on this one?
I'd prefer to be off.
Okay.
Soldiers and Sailors Monument. This is a monument which commemorates the American Civil War. This monument signifies the essence of the nation for which Cuyahoga County veterans were willing to and did give their lives. Solely supported with general fund dollars, $374,547 in 2022, and $380,770 in 2023.
Yes.
Through the chair to Walter, in regards to the Soldier and Sailors Monument, I believe the last time they came before us, how's the repairs and everything?
I would have to ask Tim.
These are normal questions that we usually ask.
We haven't
Your name?
actually. I'm Greg Palumbo.
Nice to meet you.
I'm the new director at the Soldiers and Sailors Monument. Tim Daly retired in May. So we wish him well.
So
And,
please give us your name for the record.
Gregory Palumbo.
Okay.
Go by Greg. The repairs from the May 30th riots, is that what you're referring to?
Yes.
Those repairs have been completed. The last repairs were done this summer on a couple of the windows. The Florentine glass on the outside of the window, on 2 of the windows were cracked. The graffiti has been removed, as well as the door repaired. So those all happened and payments have been made, I believe, to all of them except maybe the glass. I have to follow up on that because it's so new. It just happened in June.
Now, does those contracts, through the chair to Mr. Palumbo, does the Public Works Department send out the contracts for the work to be done, or do
Yes,
you? Okay.
yeah, all of those May 30th riot bills went through Public Works.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, thank you very much.
The next one would be the Fiscal Office Board of Revision.
What about the university extension?
I'm sorry, Councilman Miller, I did not include that in my presentation. From what I understand, the budget there is flat, $222,300. It's funded through Health and Human Services. There's been no adjustment there at all.
How much is their budget?
$222,300. I believe that's the number. I recall that number from my previous time over in Health and Human Services. Small budget. But I did not prepare a slide for them. I apologize.
Okay. I've heard that they've requested some additional money to hire additional staff. Is that correct? And could
Yes.
you brief us on that?
That is an item here that's in the decision item package. I believe they wanted to hire a staff member for the SNAP program.
Would that be to help people get onto the SNAP program?
I believe so. Let me can I get back to you on that, Councilman Miller? I'd like to give you the actual request.
Okay, that would be fine.
Sorry, I missed that one. So the next one would be the Fiscal Office Board of Revision. As many of you know, Board of Revision here's property valuation complaints as outlined and prescribed in Chapter 5715 of the Ohio Revised Code. The department is solely supported by the Real Estate Assessment Fund, and there is no general fund. Currently budgeted for 2022 at $1,939,003, and for 2023 budgeted at $1,998,498.
Questions regarding the Board of Revision? Well, I certainly have some. The first is, can you tell us the 2020 actual and the 2021 estimate on the Board of Revision?
Councilman Miller, I do not have those numbers here with me, but I can provide them.
And
I'm sorry, go ahead.
do the 22 and 2023 estimates include the creation of any additional boards, any additional hearing boards, anticipating a high number of Board of Revision complaints?
I do not believe so. They did submit, from what I recall, a decision item, but it was not funded.
You know, I just don't think that we're comprehending the magnitude of what happened with the triennial reassessment. I mean, it's got to be dealt with somehow. I actually think the people who came in here earlier this afternoon and testified on public comment, they're on target. We really need an informal process, and I would ask that the administration immediately review that situation and figure out what we'd have to do, whether we have to negotiate something with the state, whether we have to hire additional staff, what it would take to create a process to have informal hearings. But if it turns out that just is not possible, I don't see there's any way of avoiding creating additional hearing boards. Otherwise, people are going to be waiting for years to have their cases heard. I mean, I think we're gonna see more complaints than we've ever had. The valuation increases are astonishing, and I know that in most cases the amount of increases in property tax is not commensurate with the increase in valuation because of House Bill 920 and some other factors, but a lot of people aren't aware of that, and they think, well, my valuation went up 25%, my tax is going to go up 25%. And you know, we just got to accept that it's a very serious situation, and it affects thousands and thousands of people, and it's gonna cost us money one way or another to deal with it, and we can't we can't leave people out in the cold, not having a reasonable way to get their cases heard in a appropriate length of time. So I would ask that we go back and take a very careful look at this, both from the informal hearing side and the hearing board side.
Councilman Miller, there is a decision item that was submitted by the Board of Revision for approximately $1 million. And it's about half and half split between personnel and other expenditures. So I'll delve into that a little further.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Ms. Allen.
It's just a follow-up. I was going to ask the same question, but what would be the rationale for not including the decision item that was submitted, knowing that there'll probably be an increase in the need for different boards to be set up like we have in the past? Like, why would that be rejected?
Councilwoman Simon, just to be clear, they were all rejected. We didn't honor any decision items this year.
Okay, but
I understand what you're
was this reviewed and discussed and just blanketly rejected, knowing and the foreseeable need for this?
It was reviewed and it was ultimately denied, just as similar to the Ohio State extension request.
Okay, well, I guess that's what council's for.
I'm so glad that's what
Ms.
council's for. I don't know if you know this, but I spent 7 years on the Board of Revision representing the county commissioners. And I can tell you for sure that it is incredibly important that we have additional capacity to handle our citizens' requests to be heard, even if we deny their complaints and increase their values. Just the fact that they get to come in and tell us why their values shouldn't be increased makes them feel like we're responding to them, and ignoring them is a black mark against all of us. And so if we have to edit this budget ourselves, I would be the leader on this one, because I know personally it's incredibly important. So a blanket no to this, when we have to get this money from them, we should treat them with respect and not ignore them. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councilman Tron.
There are 6 of us, I think, on this panel that we remember the first day we walked into office, and we were abused because of this very item right here. I will not go through that again, nor will I think any of the other 6 of us who were here. We immediately were told that we were short on boards, they were ineffective, and I think a lot of us volunteered to start working that very next day before we even had a paycheck to start working on this project. So please don't leave us high and dry on this. I understand that it's $1 million. It's a 50% increase. The PR will be much worse for this county if we don't get this right. So again, speaking as one of the 6 of us who were here on day 1, we will not go through this again.
Mike Chambers, once again, I'm sorry I missed some of it, I handle it. But as far as the Board of Revision, it is REA funds. We do know, and I know Ron's not here now, but we have spoke about this. We do know that he's going to have to add additional boards to handle the volume. We committed to him, like some of the other decision items we said no to, that we expect them to come back and support them a little bit further. Ron's is unique where he has unique money, the REA funds, to handle that. So we will certainly accommodate Ron. The goal was with a lot of the decision items, they total $157 million. We couldn't fund them all, but we also said if there's a need that needs to be reviewed thoroughly again to bring it back up, we expected directors to do that. And Ron has done that with me, and we will come forward with that in the future.
That's a better response than what I thought I was hearing a few minutes ago. That
I apologize.
It was rejected, and when I hear rejected, then I'm hearing that the person has to fight like hell to get the money back. It sounds like the money is already coming back. And
Well, remember, some decision items is all $157 million.
I get it. You're going to have to
process. It's a process.
There are people who bring wish lists. This is not a wish list. When you just have to open up your own envelope. All of us, we open our own envelope at home and know that we're going to get complaints out there if we don't get this fixed, like he said.
Councilman. Mr. Chair, where are those decision items that they mentioned? Are they in our budget book?
Yes, Appendix C.
Appendix C, thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
So I would just remind everybody that when the new government started, the charter provided for a fixed number of hearing boards, but we amended the county charter, and the Board of Revision amendment, among other things, allowed for a variable number of boards, which allows us to respond to need when need is high and to save money by reducing numbers of boards when there's low demand. And so we certainly should take advantage of that provision. Councilman Sweeney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the director, we are talking about property reduction, because everybody's going to ask for a reduction, but isn't it open for an increase if the data proves and the board votes on that? Is that a possibility? So you have to be
I'm
wary.
told yes. I mean, I've heard it can go both ways, yes.
Yeah, so that's just a caution that I have. If somebody thinks it's reasonable, they can get a little bit more, it actually can go up. And it's up to the board through the chair to make a determination, and once that determination is made, they have to take the next step in the appeal process.
Right, and to the chair, to the councilman again, I'm once again going out tonight. It'll be my 5th meeting. We've probably had maybe 450 people at our meeting so far. I expect a big crowd tonight, but we are explaining all of these to them, the options. I also explain to them with any Board of Revision hearing, you know, if you're value and you're trying to fight for 50,000 or 40,000, a lot of time you have a school attorney there that's fighting against you. So our goal is to educate, and we've done a great job. A lot of the people come in a little bit upset, but they leave knowing exactly what happened and what their options are, and they, you know, I get a lot of thank yous in all honesty. So I believe we're having a good impact.
Thank you, Director, and thank you, Chairman.
Mr. Chairman?
Councilman Tron.
Sorry, my finger was up before you.
Okay.
But I will defer to my good counselor here. Go ahead.
Mr. Sweeney asked a question about increases. Consistently, the only parties that apply for increases in value are the school boards, because there may be a sale or a transaction that happens from an LLC to another LLC, so the value stays the same, and then the school board figures that there might be an increase if in retail or downtown office building, there's a sale to an out-of-state party, and so the school systems will have their legal counsel apply for an increase, and then the owner gets to file a counter complaint asking for it to stay the same.
Thank you.
Councilman Tron.
To understand the extent, we had obviously some people here today. Next Tuesday, I'm going to be the moderator for the school board candidates out in one of our communities, and we asked for questions ahead of time. This specific question was one of the ones that was submitted. What is the level of fighting that the school board attorneys are going to take when people are asking for their property values? So this is going to be a hot issue, and when this is coming in as anonymous questions that they want the moderator to make sure I am asking of the school board candidates, it lets you know that this is going to run throughout the entire county.
I do agree with you, and I'm making.
By the way,
yeah.
you didn't hear me say that because I'm reviewing. The questions are supposed to stay confidential till Tuesday. So,
As a councilman would know,
I blew it on that one. It's probably in the media right now. Sorry.
I won't. That's good.
Ms. Baker.
Yes, thank you. Good to know that you've had several meetings, and did you say you averaged 450 people?
No.
Total?
We've been having sellout crowds. Yesterday was our first only one show, as I like to call it. Usually I've had to close the doors and
Really?
then have 2 shows. So we're getting a tremendous turnout. And I'm going to be 100% honest with you, 99.9% of them understand what happened, and they understand why. This is a sales-only update. It has nothing to do with a lot of other factors. It's a ratio you apply.
Right. And they
but I'm
do
giving
not.
them their options.
So they do not express any disappointment or bring their materials with them, thinking that you're going to talk to them one-on-one and.
No, we hand out a PowerPoint presentation. I mean, there was a news media that did an article on it, and a lot of times, believe it or not, I'm directing them to the calculator on the website. Some people are actually getting a reduction. And it was put on Channel 19 News last week. She did a report. She says, I went back home, and yes, mine went down too.
Yeah.
I showed a gentleman on my phone yesterday how his is going down. So it's not always bad news. There's a lot of good news, but we're giving them their options.
Yeah.
House Bill 920 that I don't know who in the state helped do implement.
That was years ago, yeah.
That's playing a nice factor right now.
it never used to be thought of as a good factor, but in this case, it is.
Yes.
Okay, well, good to
Okay.
hear that your response is good.
Fantastic,
I
yeah.
really thought people, as we heard here tonight, would be a little more vocal as to their disappointment as not having a chance to talk about their taxes before it goes to Board of Revision, but you're not finding that.
We're explaining to them exactly, and going back to the timeline real fast. Generally, we submit our abstract to the state in, June 1st. We get a response to them by, should I continue, or, yeah.
Please continue.
Sorry. We usually send it to them by June 1st. We have a response usually 2.5, 3 weeks later.
Right.
The state did not want us to submit ours until October 17th-ish.
Right.
That's 2 months later. So we were behind from the very beginning. We submitted ours in July, hoping they would approve it. We didn't get final approval until early August. So 2 months, it was all, it's COVID.
Yeah,
The state's still working from home. We're here every
Right.
day.
I know, I understand it. I'm just not sure that the residents would understand it and accept it because they're really, as I said in Board of Control, they're the losers in this process. State still gets what it wants even though it's submitted it late. You have to meet the deadlines, and so we're not going to be really have any issue there. It's the taxpayer that has to pay it, go to Board of Revision, and then hopefully, if they're correct, get their refund back. And it's unfortunate that that's the way it is going to work. So that's all I have to
Mr.
say about
Chairman,
it.
Yes.
one
Steve.
small issue, because I spent so long down there. I still have relationships with all those folks, and we had a tax complaint this week that I went down and spent time with Ron and Ann. And so what I did learn, because I was like giving him a little grief, because Ron and I have worked together for more than 10 years, off and on. I said, Ron, what about responding to people's individual questions? And so they have set up a way online, and you may be able to explain this better, where they're going to allow people to do a version of a conference call, a Zoom call, or show up with a 15-minute pre-call so that they can have the time to pull their permanent parcel number information. It's now on the website. And staff is answering questions when people cold call in about at least doing a simple over-the-phone understanding of why their value went up and how they can do a preliminary input to see if they can get it to go down, or whether because it's a significant increase, they need to go file a formal complaint. Could you talk about how that was enacted? Because I was really pleased
I
about
can only
that.
give you bits and pieces because Ron's the expert on it, but I do know, we have like I want to say it's a 10-page PowerPoint, and we discuss all the Board of Revision. You have the ability to do Zoom, be phone, you can still come in person, so we're making it much more, because of COVID, we had some good things out of it, which is, we can do the Zoom and the telephone, but we have the recording devices and everything we have is set up that way because we have to record everything in case, we have a counterclaim, we have everything properly recorded. But I do, on all of my meetings, it's just not me. I do have Ron and I have Ann. I have at least 2 people at the Board of Revision. I have some people from Scam Squad there. I have people from Homestead. We're trying to do the whole reach to make sure people are all aware of their options. And believe me, we get a line of people asking questions, and we don't usually get out there till after 9 every night. So it's a wonderful, we're getting great response. So I don't know the specifics to everything that Ron's doing, but I do have his online, his portal, everything's listed for him.
Is
he
that
here?
him? I can't tell with the masks.
Yeah,
I
come on up
confuse
here.
Merriman and O'Leary all the time.
That's a compliment, Councilwoman. Thank you.
Compliment, not so sure.
They're sitting down. How do I tell?
Yes. I apologize for not being here earlier. I just came in, so I
Okay,
didn't
please
hear the
state your name for the record.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Ron O'Leary, Administrator with the Board of Revision. Yes, sorry, take my mask off. So we have an e-file portal, and the board strongly encourages anyone who has the capacity and the experience to file electronically. There's a couple of advantages to e-filing. Number one, the filer does not need to have an electronic complaint notarized. So that takes a little bit of pressure off of somebody. If you file a paper copy, you have to have it notarized. Second thing is that the filer gets an immediate email receipt. So they know as soon as they get the email response from our system, it's the file copy of the complaint. They know that it's been properly filed. If it's something where someone is filing by mail, then there's always the potential for issues with the mail. So we strongly encourage everyone to file electronically if possible. Most of our filings are electronic now, and each year it's an increasing percentage. I don't have right with me what our percentage is, but I believe that it's over 50% now and has been increasing each year.
Can I have a couple of questions? So you intuitively or using data know that you're going to have an increased volume. I'm assuming it's data because I was one of those people who had to do 30 hearings in a day. And so you came up with this number that seems significant, except for the people like you and me. You have data that backs up your need for at least $1 million plus for additional support?
Mr. Chairman, to the Councilwoman, we are estimating based on a couple of different things that we will have a significant increase. Number one, the last year that we had a significant number of filings was 2018, when it was the 6-year update. This is the data update, but it still is an update year, and cyclically, every 3 years, it goes up, and then it goes down, and then it goes back up. Looking at 2018, there were hot spots across the county. The near west side of Cleveland, Lakewood, University Circle, and some others. This year, it's across the county, and there may be some isolated pockets that either didn't go up at all or didn't go up dramatically. But across the county, the values increased. So we're expecting to see what happened in 2018, but on a larger scale. Couple that with not being able to do the informals, and we expect that we're going to see a significant number of complaints. It probably, our best estimate is probably about 20 to 25,000 complaints compared to this year, this was our lowest year that we have had in decades, and we had about 4,000 complaints. The good news is that we're caught up. We will finish the 2020 complaints probably by mid to late November, except for maybe a couple of stragglers. The General Assembly authorized a COVID filing period. We received just under 200 COVID complaints, and those are almost all commercial properties. We will probably finish the COVIDs by early to mid-January. So we're going to be caught up with everything that's already been filed. Our plan is to start to hear residential reductions of under 50,000, which, Councilwoman, I know you understand that significance. For those that might not, if it's under $50,000 decrease request, we do not have to notify the school board. If it's over, then we have to. So for residential decreases under 50,000, we will start scheduling those immediately rather than waiting for the counterfiling period. So we're going to be moving things as quickly as we can. Good news is we have a solid staff that's been here for years, but we do anticipate that with the volume that we'll need probably 2 temporary boards, and that's the amount. And I don't, off the top of my head, know the dollars that go with it, but the plan is to try to bring on 1 temporary board as close to April 1st as possible, the second temporary board as close to July 1st as possible, and to keep those boards with us as long as we need to, which will probably be well into calendar year 2023. And we budgeted, well, my request was to budget those 2 boards, as I said, 9 months for one, 6 months the other next year, but 12 months for 2023.
Mr. Chair, to the director or administrator, the real estate assessment funds are a separate source. Do we have extra money in that fund?
Mr. Chairman, to the Councilwoman, I don't know. I'd have to ask Mr. Chambers.
Mr. Chambers?
We do have a sufficient balance. I don't have it in front of me right now, but we can get it.
So that we have, in essence, we have approximately what we need that doesn't tap into general fund.
Correct.
And so we feel a need to take care of this and be proactive on behalf of our constituents. And so we would like for you to send us some type of amendment on this one. The sooner the better. Mr. Chairman?
Any response?
I'm sorry, I'm good with that. I mean, our goal was solidarity, and that we knew that some of these things may come back, but $150 million, you know, as we knew, Ron's is very important, and so we certainly can do that, yeah.
So, Director, while you're here, my question is, what is the primary impediment? What prevents us from doing an informal process?
The truth, once again, goes back to our system. So we're dealing with, as of September 1, we stopped updating. It's done. It's now going through the process. You got to remember, we have to go through every district, every community. There's tax abatements, there's TIFs, there's exemptions, there's class changes, there's tens of thousands of changes that we have to have a solid record to change. That all takes time. You're talking $94 billion system that's estimating taxes. So every year, that is the 1st of September is a shutdown day so that we can get this to the state for final approval so we can make a tax bill. Otherwise, if we delay that, we'll have tax bills that go out late or they don't go out at all. They'll be wrong. So our goal is to make sure we get these tax bills done. This is it's not a robust system that you're talking hundreds and hundreds of thousands of files and integration. So this is historically how it's always been done. We've always had that informal and that approval 2 months in advance, so we can always meet that September 1 shutdown period, so we can compute and get everything back to the state for final approval, so then we can get our tax bills generated. As you know, printing a tax bill takes weeks, so it's all timing. And that's why right now the only option we really have is the Board of Revision.
So we were delayed in getting our approval from the state by several months, is that correct?
Over 2 months, yeah. We generally send it in June, have approval mid-June. We were told not to submit it until, I want to say it was mid-August. We sent it in mid-July, as early as we, but they told me not to send it up until August 13th, but we sent it earlier. But normally we send it June 1. They just wouldn't take it. I have to assume, once again, the state's working from home still, and we're not the only county that's doing the update. It's one department down there, the Department of Taxation.
So,
I wanted it, believe me. I think everybody wanted it. It's not that we didn't want to do it, but
what stops us from just pushing back the tax bills 2 months?
you got a lot of schools and everyone depending upon that money coming in. You got settlement dates, everything. And remember, sending out notification about informals, that was the other thing. You're sending it out, U.S. postage, 500,000 people. It's going to take a couple weeks to print. These are all these things we discussed, trying to see, can we send them out? The last thing we want to do is send it out and say, oh, by the way, you got to get it back to us next week. And the U.S. mail, it's a mess right now. So that would have created more of a havoc. It's just timing. And delaying the tax bill, you're delaying the schools and everybody else ultimately, because we do make settlements. I believe it's in October, and then mid-January, when we close the collection, is the second one, and then February. My dates might be off a little bit.
Any other questions, Ms. Baker?
I know this wasn't under our control, but the tax bills have historically been delayed. In 2020, they were not due in January. They were due, I think, in June or July.
No, we extended in 2020, was it 2021 for COVID?
Right.
The years are shifting me a little bit here, but
right.
That was just strictly to give people more time because, once again, we were fighting a virus, but we still did our settlements. We still had the tax bill computed at time. We just extended the
That's what I'm saying. So everybody had to
end
wait
time.
for their money at that time, right?
No, people were paying all along. We just extended the due date.
Of the payment.
So people continue to pay, But what we're stipulating here is extending the actual calculation of the tax bill, which is, I mean, there's trickle-down effects on that one. We have to get that bill, once again, it's all timing. It all comes to play.
If I may, and it's good that you're here, the man from the Board of Revision. If you haven't heard, or perhaps in these meetings you've heard, that, these are estimates of housing in this bubble, that in 3 years will probably be will probably be paying, their housing value will go down. I mean, are we prepared for that? And when that day comes, and how are we responding to people that may have that 30% increase or 40% increase, and then in 3 years from now, in 2025 or 6, when we go back and reassess a different way, that we find that actually their housing now went down 25 or 30% because we are in a bubble, and we're really making them pay more now for something that if they sell in 4 or 5 years will go down in value. How do you handle that?
Mr. Chairman, to the councilwoman, that's the reason why the property valuations are on a 6-year cycle. And so on year 1 of the 6-year cycle is when the appraisal department sends staff out to look at every property in the county. And it's a windshield look, to check the exterior conditions, but it is an actual eyes-on evaluation of what the property value is. 3 years later is when the statistical update is done, and that's what we're in right now. We've looked at the sales. So there is a lot of discussion about, we may very well be in a bubble, but that's the reason why the property values are reevaluated every 3 years. And if you go back, to the housing bubble, in the early 2000s, it burst ballpark 2005, 2006. People that bought, in the 2003, 4, 5 period, did see their property values plummet dramatically. And there was a corresponding reduction then in the property values that the county had and in the taxes that were collected. So, as the market fluctuates, this system was designed to be able to, to be updating periodically to take care of that.
So in our budget preparation here, when we receive funding, or schools receive funding, or anyone receives funding from this uptick in receiving additional dollars, we should really know that in 3 years, we could actually be below that amount that they were assessed, and maybe budget for that, knowing that those dollars really were not accurate.
I mean, I'm not 100% perfect. Most of these school levies have, that limit where they have to get to that total. So sometimes, even though in House Bill 920 can work in reverse at times, when if it went too low, the schools have a set minimum they need to get. So what's going to happen? Your bill's going to go up either, to cover for that. So there's some non-reducible and reducible offsets. So, I mean, all that comes into play. But going on what Ron says, and this is part of what we talk about at night, and I'm sure I'll be answering this question again tonight, is that's number one, why House Bill 920 was created for times like this. And number two is the trend is slowing, but it's still going. The interest rates are still low, so we're looking at this for another year and a half possibly. You also consider inner ring cities like, looking for VAPAC. We work with them a long time. A lot of them have been hoping for a long time to see some increases so people can get equity in their homes and do some repairs. It's ebbing and flowing, but that's like Ron said, every 3 years this is going to come into play, and in 3 years from now, sales is a portion of it as well as the visual inspection and everything else. So, and it's, this is all based on market. And people say, well, why doesn't the county do something about it? But it's really a state law that we're following. And as the county auditor, that's what we're following.
Well, it'll be interesting, right, 3 years from now, what we're talking about, because I don't think that this housing market is going to be there in 3 years. I think in the next year or so, the interest rates are going to go up, inflation's going up, housing will come down, and people will have to pay more now for something that probably isn't real in a couple of years.
Unfortunately, people are buying, though, and that's when this is what it's on. It's all based on sales.
Yeah. All right.
Getting more for your money, even, same payment, more. But I agree.
Thank you.
Ms. Simon?
I just have to say, I think this is a correction in the market. Things were just abysmally, I think, low. So I think we're correcting now. But we have the benefit of the interest rates. I'm not sure this is going to be, a balloon of pop. But I just want to understand the timing of getting this into the state. And if we miss that deadline by having neighborhood meetings and we get the information in late to the state, what's the effective date of the new values on the property for the schools? Because you said there has to be, of course, that's the effective date. So when does this, I don't know when the schools actually get their disbursement.
We do multiple disbursements throughout the year. You're going to hit me on these things. It's sometime in October. We do one, I think, when the collection closes or a premium, and then we do a final one. But we'll disperse what we've collected since August, since we last closed, up until I think the tax bill goes out. Are you better on the dates than me or no?
Tax bill should go out about the third week in December.
Yeah, so we'll do an initial disbursement of what we collected, and then obviously money's coming in, and obviously the banks and everyone hold off till the very end. And then when the collection finally closes, we'll go through, do a recon, and then we'll do a big disbursement. So they're all counting on that money for their budgets.
But aren't they going to get their money anyways for 2021 without the new value change? That's not going to be delayed, is it?
You might have your budgets, but you may not have the cash for payroll. I mean, I'm just being honest. I don't know. I don't know how, because that's their biggest deposits comes in January.
But the January deposit's based on 2021 values of the property, right? Or no?
Well, it's based on the current value we just assessed now. So everything we're doing now is going to go in effect after we go through this whole process. Right now, my team's finalizing all those numbers, going through all the TIFs and everything, making sure they've changed them all, because as you know, a big discussion is about tax abatement. Some of those things are falling off. Some of them have multiple, parameters. But once that's done, we got to get it to the state or get her final approval, because if we start messing with that too much, remember, the state of Ohio on a monthly basis gets every house that we sell as well. They're the double check. They're the ones that came back and said, and in our presentation is the letter, you must raise Cuyahoga County by this much, and pay attention to making sure you're applying it applicable to the tax districts. So the whole presentation is about how we got to that point. But if she does not approve that, and we don't get it to her in time for approval, we cannot, generate tax bills, and we can't get them out. And then that just pushes everything back.
Well, it might have to, it was pushed back last year for COVID.
It was, the closing date was pushed back.
Right.
The bills went out on time, so money was coming in. The closing date, you can
I want
extend a
to
week.
understand if they get a disbursement based on the current value
I'll have to
before.
get you the dates. Let me get you the
Yeah,
exact dates.
I'd like to see us go into the
history.
neighborhoods. I think this is a taxpayer issue, and I agree. I think it was Councilwoman Stevens that, that this is paramount. I mean, we've got taxpayers who need a place to go, and whether this is pro forma or not, because of market, comps, we still need a place for them to have a chance to go, even if it's 30 days. Send them out a thing, have it at the local libraries in each district, and be done.
The one thing I try to do.
Easier said than done, I'm sure, but.
And we're doing it. And honestly, what I tell the taxpayers, if you're going to go to the Board of Revision and say my taxes are high, that's not what the Board of Revision is about. It's about your valuation. So part of this program that we're going out, we're educating them, we're giving them tips, at least I am, trying to tell them, don't go in there saying your taxes are high. Also check the calculator, because even though that percentage may say a 20% increase, it may only be 6%. It's still an increase, or it may be a reduction. But this is part of going out, and they're leaving at least with material. Some of them are going, yeah, mine actually went down. They're leaving happy. I mean, it's just part of the process. This happens every 3 years, except for we weren't able to do the informals this year.
Okay, well, we'll follow up.
Yeah, please.
So, Director, could you put out a little memo for us that explains what the usual timeline is and what the timeline is this year? On all of the things like when these various reports go to the state and when they come back and all that kind of stuff.
And to the chair.
Yes.
But also, Ron, yesterday we talked about what you had put on the website and how you were trying to do some mediation on the need for our constituents to have information directly from your office. Could you give us a snapshot of that as well?
Chairman of the Councilwoman, I would invite all of you to take a look at our website, and then anybody that has any questions about the Board of Revision to, please direct them there. We have all the procedures that someone needs to follow to be able to file an appeal. When the letters went out, we started getting a lot of phone calls. Our phone number, was one of the phone numbers that was on the letter, and we were answering people's questions and sending them out copies of the complaints. Always cautioning people, please do not send in your complaint before January 1st because we'll have to send it back to you. But between January 1st and March 31st next year, we will be open to accept complaints. We encourage people to use the e-file system, but you can get a paper copy, bring it to our office. If you don't have it notarized, about half the staff in the office, are notaries, and we can take care of that for you. We can't give anybody legal advice, but we can walk people through the procedure of filling out the complaints. And if someone mails their complaint, it has to have a postmark, a U.S. postmark by March 31st for it to be timely. But we do try to put information about how to file, about the types of evidence that people typically submit, to support their opinion of value. It was one of the things when I was applying to come to the Board of Revision that I saw that the website was very well developed at that point, and we've only had to make some minor tweaks, it's in the time that I've been here. So there's a lot of information, and it's pretty user-friendly, but our staff's always there to answer questions, too.
Anything else? Okay, thank you. Okay, we just got a couple more that should be quick, and we'll be on our way.
Yeah, we've got two left, county council, and then I believe it's the county executive is the final. County council, the legislative body of Cuyahoga County government made up of 11 elected representatives from across the county, all of you. The council makes policy decisions for effective functioning of the county government and is the link between government agencies and citizens. The council has legislative and taxing authority for the county and is a co-equal branch of the county government with the executive branch, solely supported by the general fund. Budget for 2022 is $2,325,703. 2023's recommended budget, $2,384,195.
Any questions on our budget?
Fairly straightforward.
Please proceed.
And then the final budget is the county executive, chief executive officer of Cuyahoga County government. The executive is responsible for appointment removal, county personnel, working with other local governments, introducing legislation to the county council, submitting budgets and capital improvement plans to council, and many other duties. Also supported solely by the general fund. 2022 recommended budget is $911,072, and 2023 recommended budget is $931,384.
Questions on the executive budget? Hearing none, thank you very much for all your presentations today. Is there any miscellaneous business? I will just mention that the next of the budget hearings will be this coming Monday at 1 o'clock. I'd like to thank all of my colleagues for hanging in there for a long afternoon. There being nothing further that holds our attention, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.